Welcome to Wallace and Wire. Today, we're talking about Tiong King Sing's views on child protection and parental duty. It's a really significant topic, touching on that daily struggle,
Yeah.
balancing work, family, especially here in Malaysia. We're digging into a pretty forceful speech he gave recently in Cebu, right, at a
Mm.
children's festival. And it feels like he was really laying down the law for working parents.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just advice. It felt like, a direct challenge to how we often prioritize things today. Minister Tiong is pushing back quite strongly against the common excuse, the narrative that earning the ringgit, that financial grind, just has to come before being truly involved in your child's life.
That's the heart of it, isn't it? The conflict. He seems to acknowledge the pressures, cost of living, bills.
Yeah.
We all feel that. But then he draws this line in the sand, says, look, your child's emotional health, their well-being, that's fundamentally more important than chasing extra income. Basically, if home life comes second to the job, well, he thinks you're missing the point of your basic duty as a parent.
And what makes it so, potent is how little room for compromise he gives. He sees the economic pressures, yes, but demands this moral recalibration. Parents must prioritize family education, instilling values, not just leaving it to schools or helpers. And that hits home here, right? Because working late, the pressure to provide,
Yeah.
it often means sacrificing that one thing you can't get back, time with your kids.
And he wasn't just talking in general terms either. He got very specific, almost down to logistics, especially for parents with kids in boarding schools.
Exactly. He laid out this expectation for very frequent visits. He specifically said parents need to commit minimum 1 to 2 hours every single week visiting their children in boarding school.
Yeah.
That's his baseline for keeping that connection strong.
Every week. Wow. I mean, let's just think about that practically for a second. Often kids are in boarding schools precisely because of distance, or parents are working crazy hours, 6, 7 days a week sometimes. We hear all the time about parents maybe visiting once a month, maybe less, citing work, travel costs. Is he trying to set actual policy here, or is it more like a wake-up call? Shock treatment.
Well, that's the thing. It forces you to look hard at those reasons, those excuses.
Yeah.
Tiong King Sing is basically saying that letting months go by without that real face-to-face connection, it's just not acceptable. He sees that weekly hour or two not as optional, but as vital, like maintenance. The kid needs to feel seen, valued, and the parent.
Yeah.
They need to be there enough to notice things.
Noticing things. That's crucial. He really stressed vigilance, didn't he? If parents are making these weekly trips, and they need to be paying attention, watching for shifts in mood, withdrawal, maybe signs of acting out.
And if they see those signs, those early flags, he's adamant. Don't ignore them. Don't just brush them off as a phase. He sees them as warnings. Potential problems down the line that need immediate parental attention, not just dismissal later. If you're only there every couple of months, a small issue could easily blow up into a full crisis before you even notice.
So it's like this feedback loop he wants, like be present so you can observe so you can intervene early. And if the parent isn't consistently there, well, that whole burden of spotting trouble falls squarely onto the school, which leads us to his criticisms of the institutions themselves, which were pretty strong too.
He definitely didn't hold back on the schools, especially targeting administrators and officials. His main point there was about being proactive, not reactive. Schools can't just wait until something bad happens and it leaks out, becomes news. They shouldn't wait for a tragedy before taking action. Prevention, quick responses, that should be the norm, not just crisis management.
And he seemed particularly critical of what happens after an incident. That tendency some officials might have towards, well, pointing fingers.
Yes, the blame shifting, the evasion. He argues that officials need to genuinely do their jobs, ensure safety first. It suggests he sees a culture, perhaps in some places, where protecting the school's image takes precedence over student welfare when something goes wrong.
That really makes you think about the internal culture in some schools. If the immediate reaction is, who can we blame, or how do we manage the PR, it feels like the actual problem, the systemic issue, might just get buried.
Exactly. And that means it's likely to happen again. The minister is calling for real, upfront accountability from the leadership.
He also touched on a specific behavior, something probably quite familiar in school settings, students trying to dominate, acting like the big boss. He used a particular term for it, didn't he? And warned about the consequences if schools don't step in.
Yes, or act like the boss's concept. His warning was clear. If schools let these dominant kids run unchecked, they don't intervene and guide them right away, it creates this toxic ripple effect. A culture of imitation.
A culture of imitation, meaning other kids start copying that aggressive behavior.
Precisely. It normalizes it. Younger kids, or maybe less confident ones, see these bosses types getting away with bullying or being aggressive. They start thinking that's just how things are done, how you survive or get status in school. And that, he argues, directly fuels the wider campus violence and misconduct that we unfortunately hear about more and more.
So intervening isn't just about dealing with one bully. It's about preventing that whole negative culture from taking root. And who's best placed to spot those initial tensions? Usually the teachers, the staff on the ground.
That's right. Tiong King Sing really underscored the role of teachers and staff, their daily observation, their watchfulness. He believes their timely intervention, noticing those subtle power plays or small conflicts, can often stop things from escalating into something much worse, even physical. They're the front line, really. They might catch things even a visiting parent could miss. He's basically demanding that level of diligence from all the adults involved.
Okay, so we've talked about home responsibility, school accountability. What about the digital world? That came up too, regarding mobile phones.
Oh yes, a massive issue everywhere, isn't it? He was quite critical of parents using phones basically as digital pacifiers, just giving kids a device to keep them quiet or occupied. His concern is the uncontrolled access they then get.
The easy access to potentially harmful content.
Exactly. He argues it's not harmless distraction. It can seriously impact a child's psychological growth, their values. It can counteract all the positive lessons they might be getting at home or school. Introducing distorted ideas through that little screen.
The digital babysitter trap, as some call it. Convenient, but potentially risky.
But interestingly, he doesn't frame it as only a parent's problem. He links it to the bigger picture, the role of government, society. He's advocating for a much broader strategy for child protection.
So not just about what happens inside the house, but about the whole environment.
Right. He wants government action, ensuring safety in public areas, around schools, definitely, but also critically tackling safety online, the digital space itself.
And that needs real infrastructure, presumably.
Yes. He calls for better child protection systems overall, strengthening prevention like education, maybe content filtering, but also making reporting systems more effective. So it moves beyond just telling parents to be better. It involves systemic policy-level changes, too.
So if we try to tie all these threads together, Tiong King Sing's core message seems to be about shared responsibility. It's complex. He sees these worrying incidents in schools, but he's firm. It's not just the school's fault.
That's really the crux of it. He's pushing back hard against simply blaming the education system. He's demanding parents look inward, too. Ask themselves, are we truly teaching the right values? Are we creating a secure, positive home environment? His conclusion is that you only get that safe, healthy atmosphere for kids to grow up in when home and school work together, consistently, collaboratively.
It's a huge ask, isn't it? It demands so much. Significant time from parents who are already stretched thin, constant vigilance from teachers who might be overloaded, and effective policies from the government. But the underlying message is stark. The well-being and the values of the next generation depend on all three: home, school, state being aligned and functional.
Absolutely. If one pillar is weak, it puts immense pressure on the others. When a child struggles or gets into serious trouble, it's often a sign of a breakdown in that whole support network around them, not just an isolated case of misbehavior. It really makes you think about what's needed for the country's future, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And it leaves you, the listener, with a lot to mull over. How do we, collectively as a society and individually as parents or caregivers, realistically balance those heavy economic pressures chasing the ringgit with what Tiong King Sing frames as this fundamental non-negotiable duty? Ensuring our kids are watched over, resilient, and grow up with strong, positive values.
A very important question for all of us.
Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.